Criticism and negative feedback often creates a threat to our nervous system, which translates to our adrenal glands again and releases a steroid.
Be manly and the legends of humanity. Welcome to the Fellowship of Honourable Men and Women Role Models for Boys and Men, because you have the power to be a man in all its glory.
So one of the topics that we can talk about here is dealing with criticism or negative feedback without feeling overly defensive. And I'm always puzzled by that one because it really depends on the feedback and the criticism. But the reality for me, myself, is that I do not, how do I say that? Don't suppress your feelings. And one of the things that you have to realize is that trying to get people to feel what you feel is not possible. You just can't, right? You can get them to kind of understand, but they will never ever feel what you're feeling. So never suppress that feeling that you've got. Try to explore it. Try to understand what it's telling you, because that's what feelings do. Feelings are our messengers. They come from our senses, and our senses, we've got 5 of them. We've got hearing, and sight, and sound, and taste, and feeling, not touch, feeling. Now, not everybody has this. There's the unfortunate people that don't have sight and don't have sound and don't have smell even. But the reality of it is those senses are picking up our environmental conditions. So criticism and negative feedback is both a sound that we're hearing and a feeling that we're receiving, and it's sending us a message that we need to understand or translate. Criticism and negative feedback often creates a threat to our nervous system, which translates to our adrenal glands again and releases a steroid. Actually, it releases steroid hormones and adrenaline and a chemical called neuroadrenaline or noradrenaline, which is the adrenaline release is our primary culprit for the fight or flight instinct within us. And so when we get that criticism, that attack, what's happening is we're getting a biological chemical release inside of our bodies that is telling us to either fight or flight. But there's another one there that's freeze too. We often don't talk about that one. So a lot of people freeze up and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle the situation. So it's a biological process. We're being attacked, not physically, but emotionally. And what's surging through our bodies now is that chemical of adrenaline that's now taking over and trying to make us either run or fight or freeze. What we need to understand, though, is when we are threatened and that chemical release is taking place and the flight response is triggered, it can often be the form of criticism or negative feedback. In essence, the reaction to the threat is aggression in the form of criticism. Maybe I'm repeating myself there, but it's important that we understand that. It's a threat. And we have to realize, is it a true threat or is it an artificial threat? A lot of times it's just an artificial threat. And I actually seen so many times where that negative feedback and that criticism is the only defense another person has, because they see you as an individual as threatening. And so it's their fight or flight system that's kicked in, and they're now having the same thing go on in their body. That adrenaline release is going on, and they've gone into fight mode, and their fight mode is not physical, it's emotional, and means that they're going to cast out some negativity towards you or some criticism in order to protect themselves. And so this is the battle that's going on, and if you participate in it, it can be damaging to both parties. It just escalates. And so as a highly sensitive person who, I consider myself a highly responsive person, I feel that feeling of attack, and then I look at the person and I'm calmly saying to myself, like, hang on a second, they're in a threat mode as well. And what we need to do is we need to start extinguishing this. And it's just like, hey, I'm sorry you feel that way. Maybe we should talk about it or have some conversation. Try to bring the system down, like bring that threat down so that it's a manageable level. I think that adrenaline, though, is a core problem to many of us, because what happens when you get that adrenaline release, whether it's through confrontation or not, it's addictive. And so the addiction to adrenaline can be harmful or it can be beneficial. I myself am addicted to adrenaline, but I don't criticize or harm other people with it. What I do is I go out on adventures. I ride motorbikes. I go scuba diving. I go climb mountains. I go and release that adrenaline in a more positive way. But there are people that are afraid of doing those things with that adrenaline. And so their way of satisfying that adrenaline rush in their bodies is by throwing out negativity or throwing out criticism. And they get that surge of adrenaline because of that verbal argument that they're going to get out of it. And by contributing to that and feeding back into that, you're actually feeding to their addiction, and that's probably not healthy. So you're better to try to escalate it down and figure out a way to talk them down into a more calm position.
Before you go, you're invited to continue the Be Manly and the Legends of Humanity journey. Subscribe to our YouTube and become a patron, where you can become a courageous crusader, a wise warrior, a daring dynamo, and even an ascending avenger. Here you'll find all the tools to become a man in all its glory. We're honored to walk side by side with you on this extraordinary adventure. Together, we're unleashing the full power of manhood, creating a better world for everyone.